Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker-Hagan, and I'm so glad to be back with my co-host.
Dr. J.R. Thicklett here. And listen, it's been a couple of weeks since we've actually been together, kind of like flying through the air at different times. But it's good to be back with you. I tell you, it's a whole different feel when you're not there. I'm telling you, that's for sure. And I'm
I
just glad to
know.
be here on this last Tuesday in the month of November. 1 month left.
1 month left before we're out of 2021 into 2022. God has been so faithful, so kind, so gracious unto us.
Absolutely. And speaking of gracious and kind, today is marked as, it's deemed as Giving Tuesday. And it's a day that's been set aside, especially for nonprofits and those organizations that are making a difference in the lives of people, whether it's education, empowerment, or whatever way. And it's been set aside on this Giving Tuesday that as people give, that literally what they give will be matched by the organizations, not our organization, but the greater organization that sponsored Giving Tuesday. And I know that we don't actually say a whole lot on this show about the opportunity to give, and for that we want to apologize. We promise to do better going forward. But definitely, what a great day of Giving Tuesday. And think about it. We both believe in a principle of giving. We practice that principle. That's what we do with our lives. Our lives have been driven by that principle. And when I think of it, it would be almost remiss of us not to give the people the opportunity to do that same thing. And they can do so tax deductible, a tax deductible nonprofit organization. Those individuals that might say, hey, listen, I need to do this even for nothing other than a tax write-off. Feel free to do so inside of our organizations, and it will be not only a blessing to us, but it's going to be a blessing to the people that we serve. We're educating people, we're empowering people, not only about domestic violence, but other social determinants that impact our community, but even more so. Dr. Val, for years, you've done things to make sure that kids of victims receive things that they need. You've made sure resources was there, sometimes to even help relocate individuals or help
Yeah.
them get back on their feet. And we don't talk a lot about it because Hot Topic from the Soul talks about so many different subject matters, but we want people to know that we're not just here just gapping or yapping our gum. We're actually people that are making differences inside of the world, and I'm very proud to be associated with you, my dear friend, because in fact I know that you're not new to it, you're true to
Oh, bless your heart. And see, that's why we're partners here. We
it.
really don't talk about the extent of the work we do behind the scenes. People just see us here having this broadcast every Tuesday night, 8 p.m., and have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. You've been, speaking out against, limitations on voting rights,
Absolutely.
as well as domestic violence. It's so much that you do. You're a minister of the gospel, and when people break down in their family dynamics, you're there to help pick up the pieces, especially when someone is killed, or you work with with drunk drivers. I mean, we do a lot behind the scenes and we don't talk about it a lot because, well, I know I don't talk about what I do as it relates to domestic violence because it is a private thing. I know when I went through my domestic violence situation, it was embarrassing and very humiliating, to have to go through that. People saw the outside and saw that everything looked fine and dandy, but behind closed doors, I was at war every day fighting for my life. And so it is like when I work with families, it's during the holidays and back to school. I know what it's like. Holiday times come around, people are getting gifts, and they have these big old trees and they're spending 4 5, sometimes $1,000 on
Yeah.
Christmas for their kids, and I didn't have that. I went to Salvation Army, God bless them, because it was something. I make it a point to give to those families that have three or more children, because I had four. So if you have three or more children and you're in distress for the holidays, I would give out toys and stuff. And as I followed families that I've supported throughout the years, their kids are
Yes.
getting older. So I reverted from giving toys to giving gift cards because they need personal stuff. They don't need toys anymore. They need personal stuff to groom themselves. And, if they have money left over to get like electronics or something like that. So I've given gift cards the last like the last 4 years, and then back to school, give school supplies, etc. So we do a lot of work behind the scenes to the public, and those of you that know me know this is what I do. And I've been doing it since 2009. Dr. J, he partners with me, and I also partner with other nonprofits because
Absolutely.
sometimes they don't make their quota for the demand they have. So Soul of a Woman has partnered with few nonprofit organizations to help pick up the slack. So we would invite you to support us and visit our website. Mine's is from the soulofawoman.com, from the soulofawoman.com. And then if you're listening by Facebook, on my Facebook wall, I have a link where you can simply click to get to that. And
Mhm.
I have Cash App. A lot of people's like, I don't want to give my credit card and stuff like that. All I did was Cash App. Well, this is my Cash App. $ Valerie N. Parker. I spell my name with an O. Valerie N. Parker. That is my Cash App, but I would prefer you did it through the website. That way I can keep track of you and be able to send you out a thank you card and with a um, tax donation card letting you know that you did support the Soul of a Woman, which is a nonprofit, and Dr. J.R. Thicklin. This is his website where you can go and follow him. And he also has Cash App that you can go to as well and give to him that way. $ Man of Purpose 2000. Man of Purpose 2000. I love that, Dr. J. You gotta show me how to create a Cash App for that because I like doing, like I said, everything through the website. Because the thing about going to my website is there is so much information to help individuals that are going through domestic violence, going through suicide, going through health issues. So I want you to go to the website so you have the opportunity to peruse through the site and see the different things I am doing, not only local but abroad.
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about the World Wide Web is that people, no matter where you're listening or watching from, and doesn't matter when, you're able to go to those websites and exercise that. JRThicklin.com is there. We have got destinybychoice.org there. But if you go to our Facebook pages, you'll find that link as well, where you're able to go directly and go right to the website and be able to make your contribution. And once again, I want to say to those of you that maybe saying, listen, I need to be able to meet a certain tax write-off quota. Our organization welcome it. Uh, Once again, you'll receive a receipt, a letter indicating your gift, your contribution, and you'll get a letter indicating that you have done so because we want you to know that we are thankful for what you're doing. And most of all, you'll be helping people that maybe you don't see and you'll never see, or people that you may have passed by and didn't know they were going through. I
Right.
will tell you, in just the past week alone, I've gotten calls from a mother and her a mother, single mother, been in an abusive relationship, have gone through it. Now she's transitioned to getting her own housing and things like that, but she has some difficulties right now. Some of the other traditional resources are unable to help her. She heard
Yeah.
about us, she reached out to us, and I reached back out to you, the public, to say, help us, help others, and empower others, because we never know who's in that situation. And guess what? It could be someone that we love, or if not, we ourselves. And that kind of brings us to the point, especially during this time of year, when we start talking about family, and finances and holidays, it brings a
Yes.
lot. I just returned from Houston Saturday night from a great time of Thanksgiving with my family. But you think about it, we flew out there, my beautiful princess, and that's my daughter and my grandson, and we flew out there with about 12 other family members from South Florida to go there. And so you think about those are finances and things, and then you get there and you all the accommodations that you're looking to do, and yet it's still you're right in the very eve of the holidays is coming, and you're trying to make ends meet. And not only from a professional organizational standpoint, where we're still reaching out to help others, and we're going to be giving things to children and families, but also from a personal standpoint as well. And it's not always easy. I salute and I applaud those families who are really maneuvering during the holiday period, try
Yes,
to bring
it's
together the
hard.
finances and really just still, get through this without allowing it to be such a burden that they end up depressed and rather than having joy to the world, So, so that's really what our aim is tonight is how do we navigate through this? What is the proper attitude and what is it that people can do to, to encourage one another? And most of all, don't lose the spirit of joy because of the holiday, but rather let the holiday be contributing to the spirit of joy.
I read a quote today that was interesting. It says, having somewhere to go is home. A lot of people say, well, I'm not in no home. I'm, you
Right.
know, strange is hard. But when you can go into somebody's home where they welcome you, that becomes your home. And having someone to love is family.
Absolutely.
So, to show yourself friendly, you have to be a friend to individuals, and you have to show love. You can't just expecting love to come to you. You have to show love, and having both is a blessing. So when you have a home and someone to love, that is a blessing.
Well, uh, Dr. Val, I think we have a special guest tonight. And boy, this is so different because I've known this special guest, I might could say all their lives. I've known them their entire life. I've watched them grow. I've watched them grow from being this little beautiful little bundle of joy to just being absolutely an incredible young lady, incredible mother, incredible mind. I am so glad to say that she is part of my legacy. She is my only princess. I have four sons, and I have the one princess, and she's my daughter, Japricia Ficklin. She manages a whole department with the Urban League of Palm Beach County, but most of all, she is definitely a mover, a shaker, and she's going to be a history maker. And I tell you, I admire her in the way that she handles life, in the way that she handles things. So I want to say good evening to my princess, to Japricia. How are you this afternoon?
Good evening. I am well. I cannot complain. I
That's
cannot complain. Happy to be here.
it's great having you here. When we were talking about the show, Dr. Val and I, we just talked about what we wanted to do, and she
So
said,
just this,
she said, why not have Japricia, your princess? And I was like, oh God, because I know she's going to probably say, God, Dad, you could have gave me a little bit more notice. But if I knew if there was any part of me in her, she would be adaptable and flexible. So I betted and I won.
Yes, that's exactly what I said, but I thank you for thinking of me.
Absolutely. So I know that Dr. Val have some questions for you as well, and I'm going to give her an opportunity to start off. I don't know if she's froze a little bit now or whatever, or that's just her patting a smile that is locked in time there. But definitely, first of all, here it is. We're the last day of November. Tomorrow is December 1st. And there are a lot of people who right now who start feeling the pressure of the holidays, the pressure of Christmas. And sometimes people are so pressured that they don't get to really enjoy the spirit of the holidays because they feel this enormous pressure. I got to do this. I don't have enough to do that. I don't know how I'm going to make this work. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but I think that overemphasis on it could really draw the very life out of a person inside of that. And so I say to you, you tend to handle things a little differently, whether it's what we see on the outside or the surface, or the fact that you're either compartmentalizing things in a way that you don't seem to allow things to steal your joy. And I've got to ask you, what what gives you that type of confidence? I mean, how did you get to that place where you tend to be very organized, you think way out ahead of time, and you manage to you manage to be able to maneuver what you need to, and you're doing all this stuff while being a tremendous, terrific mom. I mean,
Thank
I just want to know how you do it. I've been anxious to ask that question. I've just been on the
you.
sideline just watching and being just totally amazed. So, how do you do it? What is your mindset?
Okay, so first I have to say that nothing that I do is without God. He is definitely what keeps me moving. My faith is one thing that keeps me going. So my faith is number one. That helps me just get through each and every day. Every day I'm grateful to wake up. Every day I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do something. So whether that's being a mom, whether that's serving my community, whether that's working, whether that's giving back, whatever it is, I'm grateful to do so because I know this same day someone didn't make it to see.
Right.
So that's one thing. It's like, you know what? When I go somewhere, when I say I can't complain or I'm well, I can't complain because you can't. There's someone who didn't make it to this point, and that's something that always gets me going. But outside of that, I definitely think it's my family, having wonderful, wonderful parents. You and my mom as good examples. Just continue to
That's
go
good.
and strive for everything that they want to do, everything that's set out before them, and that's something that gives me that get up and go motivation. I think I tell you all the time, you keep leaving huger footprints to walk behind, and that's something that is a motivator to me. And outside of that, like you mentioned, I'm a mother. My son, he gives me an extra boost of
Yeah.
energy because he has enough for at
Me.
least 5 to 10 people. So he gives me an extra boost of energy to just keep things going and remember that there's joy inside every moment. I tend to look at the things that are positive whether than focusing on the negative because those things are what give me the next bit of inspiration to get through the dark times. So for those that are going through the holiday, I always think of don't stress what you can't control. That's one thing that I have it written down. That's something that I kind of one of those quotes that I constantly remind myself of because there's so many factors in this world that people stress about that they have no direct control over. And stressing
Right.
about those things can literally drive you insane. So the materialistic part of the holidays and the materialistic piece that everyone tends to hold on to, like, oh, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to get that, is not something that I take joy or pride in. I take joy in the things that make me feel good inside, those things that bring true joy, and that's family, that's creating memories. I am big on that. So those things are motivators and things that keep me going.
And that's interesting because you are quite motivated. I'll share some things that were shared in my hearing, and you didn't know this when we were out in Houston together. And so, as you had gone out, one of your aunts, matter of fact, your aunt Cynthia said this to me. She said, I have really enjoyed Japrecia so much this time. Said she is so bright, she is so smart. She is, she just has such a great spirit about her. It's just that this girl is so motivated. And I replied to her, I said, she is. I said, I'm absolutely amazed when I watch her, even myself. And it is because of the fact that you have this sense of resilience as well. And you tend to kind of put things in the right perspective. And I have to tell you, I'm not so sure everybody's everybody's outcome, because the fact to get overwhelmed by all these things. For some reason, we've allowed the holidays to be some type of status symbol for us. If I don't
Mm,
get this, then I'm in a different status. If I don't, I'm not able to get that, it lowers my status or whatever. And yet it's still with you. I mean, first of all, you're full of surprises. And I say this all the time. Uh, I don't know how you do it, but you're full of surprises. You're always so thoughtful for everyone. And what people need to understand is that although you're the only girl, you come from a big family. I mean, on both sides. I mean, you got a lot of folks, and you're always so mindful of everybody, and it blows us all away. I know it blows me away, and yet it's still inside of it. You're thoughtful. You give thought to what you're doing, and you go after it. And I have to say myself, I've never witnessed you become disgruntled because I got you this gift, I got you this gift, and you only gave me that gift. And I think it is consistent with your attitude of being grateful and thankful for what you have.
Yes.
Did I get that right? I mean, that's just my observation, and trying to be observant without being biased. That really am.
Yes, that's something you have to be grateful. And I mean, of every little thing. Because sometimes we as humans, we focus on every little bad thing and it ruins our mood, it ruins our spirit, it ruins our day. I'd rather do the opposite. So every good thing I'm thankful for, even when traffic goes smoothly in the morning when I'm on my way to work. I'm thankful for every little thing that makes up a great day. Things that are come up as obstacles. I think of the skills I possess to get through them. So, you know what? I've handled something like this before. It might not be as quick as I want it to turn around, or it might not happen the way I thought it would happen. But I can get through it. I think my resilience just comes from me knowing things that I've gotten through in the past. And you know how they say this is little to a giant? That's
Yes.
how I see it. So some things are bigger than others, but I know I possess that inside of me to get through those things.
Wow.
Did you imagine yourself at this place? Now, I remember you in junior high school, then high school, and then college. Did you ever think you would get to this place?
No, but yeah. And I'm gonna say that because I always knew what I wanted to do in a sense. I've always had that heart for the community, that heart to give back, that heart to share light. But I also didn't know in what capacity I would be doing it.
Hmm.
So every chance that I get to kind of do that, and I don't have to have recognition for it, and that's a lot. I'm sure my dad can attest to. I will literally walk into a place, do something, and not share my last name because I don't want anyone to just hand it over to me because
Yeah.
they're familiar with who my dad is or who my family is. Um, I love just to give and share that light. And then one other thing about me is I'm not prideful. So you can literally I can give someone something of a huge that truly blessed their whole life. I won't record it. I won't ask for a kudo. I don't even want you to tag me in the status. I just want you to enjoy it, and I want to see the reaction and the joy that you get when you receive it. And that's how I am. So yeah.
I am so thankful for you and for your brothers and for my children as well. I
Yeah.
guess I guess they're all chips off the old block because my kids are givers too. They live in different states and they're like, "Mom, I'm doing such and such and such and such," and I'm so proud of them that I don't have to say, I need you to help this person or do for this
Right.
person. They already know that it is their reasonable service, and struggle is good, the struggle is real. There's a quote say the struggle is real, but struggle is good because it allows you to appreciate where you've been so that you can get to a place where you can give back. Our destiny, you said destiny by choice.
Yes.
So is that explain how you came up with that, Dr. J?
Well, it's so amazing. The whole concept of destiny by choice came about. It's a quote by William Jennings Bryan, who says, "Destiny is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice." And so, what I internalized many years ago, because destiny by choice is in its 21st year, but what I internalized then was destiny was not something that was left up to chance. In other words, you wasn't going to accidentally walk into your destiny, but rather destiny is a choice. It's what we choose. Each and every day of our lives, we have an opportunity to make a choice. We make choices several times a day. Think about it. We make choices whether it's going to be coffee or tea. We make choices whether it's going to be the blue socks or the black sock. We make choices whether it's going to be the brown suit or the gray suit. We make choices all day long. But then there are choices in our lives that impacts us even greater. So it is so important that people don't think that they're going to accidentally bump into destiny. No, destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. And so we choose, like we can choose to listen, we can choose to take it in, we can choose to reject it. And so when I look at my children and when I look at the ones that I know I've been entrusted in their lives, you know, the mirror will reflect whether or not they chose to take it in or they chose to reject it. The mirror will. I don't get a chance to stand there with a scorecard and say, okay, 8.3. No, 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 no. Life itself will produce the results of that. And that's what we want to do. And it's kind of like what Japrici was saying as well, is that when she gives to people, she's not doing it for a Kodak moment, but she likes seeing the expression that may come to their face because at any given moment, we have, at any given point in our life, we have an opportunity to create a defining moment in somebody else's
Yes,
life. But we're
yes.
also held accountable to being able to embrace the defining moment in our lives. And sometimes the
Right.
defining moment in our lives are not always a good thing. Sometimes it is the greatest crush or the greatest pain that we've gone through, but it defines us, it redefines us. And that's one thing that I so love that Japricia said. What continues to keep me going, my resilience is based upon the fact I look at what I've come through before. Man, what a way to be informed. To be informed by what you've come through already. And that gives us the confidence that we will get through it. And so, that's kind of the way we look at destiny. We look at life because the fact we all have been given this. Think about it. We use terms like, man, I just didn't have enough time, not enough time in a day. Well, guess what? All of us are given the same amount of time. There's 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets 26, nobody gets 28, and nobody's been shorter and you only get 12. No, it
Right.
is what we choose to do or what we allow ourselves to do in that time. And so the more I rehearse that, the more it reminds me that I'm more than capable of achieving things that I need to.
Well, Japricia, your dad and I are advocates of change. What would you like to see change in your dispensation?
Whew, it's a lot. Um, what would I like to see change? There's so many things, but I think
I mean, you're a young adult now and you're a mother. What would you like to see change so that your son will be able to get the same opportunities that you have or greater?
oh, I think change is systematic. Um, I think I am going to do my best to prepare him with the tools, the education, having him just be bred a different way, kind of like my parents did me, his faith, his integrity, and those things will take him far. But there are some changes that are up against him systematically, and if those things could change, him being a young male, I feel like it will allow him to have greater chances. But one thing I can say, we're talking about family and finance. I think my job as his mother is not to always cling to the materialistic things, but for me to set him up financially. So creating that generational wealth for him, creating certain tools and opportunities for him to have within himself. So that way those things systematically that might be against him won't be such a huge factor because he has the tools and the things that he needs, especially financially, to get to certain levels. Because we all know we're here in America, and like they say, money talks. So him just having those tools, to come and kind of, I don't know how to put it, kind of be up where the system won't really see him if he did not have these things.
How important do you think voting is that you would share to those in your age group? Because I know a lot of young adults say, my vote won't count. It won't matter. I'm just one person. What would you say regarding that?
I this to everyone my age, and even those that are older that don't believe in voting counts. If it did not matter, they wouldn't have fought so hard for us not to be able to do it. So even though you feel like, oh, I voted for this and they said this percentage of people voted for that and we still didn't win or this still ain't changed. If it did not matter, they wouldn't have fought so hard for you not to do it. So voting, and I mean in every election, whether it's local, um, whatever it is, just let your voice be heard. There's so many people that died, with their lives on the line just for us to have the opportunity to do so. And like I said, if it wasn't important, they wouldn't have fought so hard against it. So please, and that's one thing I can exercise. And I say that I exercise and I show it. I put it on my social media, like go out there and vote. It just takes a moment out of your time. If you're working, most jobs give you time to be able to vote if you're working during that day. It's very important.
It's so funny that you asked that question. I just got off a meeting, and that was the last thing I talked about was the voting part, and it's almost like you was listening and on it. Because if it wasn't that important, it wouldn't be fought so strongly. And so we understand, our slogan has been, your vote is your voice. Your vote is your voice. And so, it's the one thing that equalizes thing in this country is that, that you get a chance to say something. You're an individual. It shouldn't matter whether you're rich or poor, whether you're blind or with sight, whether you're crippled or not, you have a disability or not. The fact that you are a breathing human being, that you're a citizen of this country, you're registered to vote, you're over 18, this is something that to me is one of the last legitimizing rights that we have to be able to do so. And so, to be able to know that your voice counts. Now, for those that say it doesn't, it's generally those who have not looked at the fact of still the disparity in us voting. We have a current election that is now being fought for the Congress seat that was left by the late great Alcee Hastings.
Yeah.
And the Democratic process here early in November, it started off with about 19 people running for this seat. 19.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, guess what? Right about now, the winner won by 5 votes. 5.
Just
5 votes. Now,
5 votes. That's why I was like, and people say my vote don't count. Look how many people sat back and said,
yeah. And so now, with that being happening, now you have lawsuits saying, well, okay, so let's look at technicalities. And that's part of the problem that we're dealing with now with these new election laws that are coming. But we're trying to eliminate people's voice through technicalities.
Yeah.
And we're trying to create the technicalities so that people can be eliminated. And then we say this is all to make sure that voting is all right. Not at all. What is right about a person not being able to receive water while they're standing in long lines just to exercise their vote? What is right about eliminating drop boxes and things that people needed to be able to drop those ballots off, or even churches and trusted friends being able to take your ballot and say, I will go and put it in the drop box? What is right about the fact of eliminating the time for early voting? What is right about requiring people to have to re-register every voting cycle to be able to cast a mail-in vote? What is right about it? There's nothing right about it. But why is it being done? Because it suppresses. It is meant to discourage you from going out to vote. Now, listen, it doesn't take a genius to recognize that this thing is so privileged and is so precious that it's been willing to be fought for on the highest level. As a matter of fact, the truth be told, the 2020 election turned out exactly like it was meant to. The highest turnout in American history. More people voted. Watch this. In the midst of a pandemic, Americans said that, listen, rain nor shine nor sleet nor snow nor pandemic or whatever is going to stop us. But many of those votes was cast through what? Mail-in ballots and those type things. Why? People was trying to remain safe in the midst of a pandemic, but they did not want to abrogate their constitutional right.
Mm-hmm.
This is why it's so important now. Because guess what the reward for 2020 election, that great turnout was? Let's move the goalposts. Let's move the goalposts. Let's just keep moving it. And so we come up with these type of laws, and they're meant to do what? Discourage.
Press.
And it meant to suppress Black and brown voters. And I have to say it, when people are bold enough to call out names like Stacey Abrams and say, no, she will not get by with this, when they call out names because people was willing to organize, That tells you that's a lot of boldness there. But guess what they're counting on? They count on us to become discouraged. They count on us to get frustrated. They count on us to say exactly what we heard earlier. My vote don't count. So whether you vote or not, think about it. Those individuals, are they coming in your neighborhood talking to you? Are they even coming to your churches to talk to you? No, because they're counting on you remaining out of the process. And the thing we have to do is not accommodate them.
And then,
Let's.
and the thing is, this affects our family.
It
This
does.
affects our finances.
Yes,
And yes, it's also going to affect us every holiday because of the fact
absolutely.
that you're not going to be able to make ends meet and you're not going to be able to provide for your families. And some of you won't even be able to get together with your families
Absolutely.
because of who's in position at any given time. Not only the president, I'm talking about local uh,
Yeah.
Yes.
administrators that are in place too. Our monies and how we function on a daily basis in our communities are held down by the people that we vote in, our mayor, our
Yeah.
commissioners. They
Yes.
govern the finances and disperse it into our communities. So if you sit back and say my votes don't count, well, this one here is proof that someone lost by 5 votes. Yes, votes do count. And I
Absolutely.
guarantee you, there's probably more than 5 people that sat home and said, my vote don't count, that could have made a difference. So, yes, your vote is valuable. I wonder, with those concerts that are hosting 30, 40, 50,000 people and people willing to risk their lives at a concert, I wonder how many in that group would be willing to risk their life for change.
Wow.
Hmm. Hmm.
That says a lot.
That does.
So when we speak to value, I mean, Japricia, you have been a part. I mean, on your, I call it on your day job, you are in charge of basically over a program that deals with a lot of young people. You inspire them. You help connect them to things and such as that. And so your voice carries weight. A few weeks ago, I saw how powerful that was when I was totally amazed that on this very big Zoom call, this whole community forum, and I looked and I started seeing people putting their names in and they were representing high schools this and high schools that. And I'm like going to myself, totally forgetting about my daughter. I'm like saying, where are all these young people coming from to listen to a forum on domestic violence? And it was bananas. And then when they opened it up for questions from them, what came out of their mouth was
Hmm.
totally amazing. Their
Wow.
thought processes, how they seem to understood how this action that supposedly is private impacts people personally and publicly. And
Mm,
and so when you talk about engaging, I know that you guys always have young people to make sure they volunteer. You guys make sure young people understand the you want the rewards and the duty of just civic service.
Yeah.
The quote I love is the fact that service is the rent that we pay for for being here on this earth. That's what it is. So you know for you,
Hmm.
do you feel that you are passing it on inside of teaching this, guiding young people? Are you helping them to prepare to see their future? Because I'm thinking now about things that you all have done. I remember one function I saw you guys that you all had these wonderful shirts. It was like talk like Malcolm, just like Martin, and you got so much so that I begged you for one, and I finally got one. Praise the Lord. And but I was so impressed because of the messages that was going out, and so I kind of want to lean back to what Dr. Val kind of asked you before. When you reimagine this world, what type of change you want to see. I want to connect that. Do you see with what you're doing, even through your job and that aspect, that you are doing just that? You are creating that change. You are creating a mindset change. You're creating a sense of pride. Because for people who don't feel like they belong, they generally won't.
Exactly. I definitely do. I think that one of the biggest things that we lack sometimes is knowledge. So I feel like it's my job, especially dealing with the youth, is to put that knowledge out there and also be an example to them. So I can't expect you to get up on a Saturday morning to serve your community if I can't get up.
Yeah.
I can expect you to make your voice heard if I'm not doing my part. And so I am an example and I put out the knowledge. I show them exactly like you said, the numbers count. So when you show them this election was won just by a difference of 5 people, and these are the statistics in your community. Where's your family in this rainbow of statistics? And most of them will tell you, oh, this is my family right here. Or this is how my family is. And you just put it out there. And we just put it out there to let them know that their voices are heard. For example, we had them write letters to the late Alcee Hastings when he was here. And we actually received some responses. And they were like, what? They responded to me? Yeah, they responded to you because you count. Your voice counts even now in a high school setting or in a middle school setting. Once you train them up young, they get that implanted in them. So that pride, that wanting to do so, that, hey, you know what? I am here. They do see me. They recognize me. It lets them tell the people around them, their families, in their community, like, come on, we can do this because this program or this person has showed me that this works. So I make sure I pass on the knowledge and then I lead by example. I show them exactly what they can do. So when I tell them the things that I've done and just bring them into a new area and let them network and let them, okay, this is the head of this is the CEO of here. Oh, you gonna let me meet the CEO, miss? I'm scared. No, don't be scared. You're gonna be the next. You're gonna be the new. You're gonna be the improved. You're the future.
They
So
have to envision themselves, embrace a larger vision of themselves, and that's what you're exposing them to, which is a powerful position to have.
yes, and it's my pleasure to do so because I know that even though I'm not that old, I know that they are the future. They have next. And to empower them and get them ready for that, you have to start now.
Mhm.
Right. Absolutely. Wow.
I forgot who I was talking to today, but the conversation was kind of like what we're talking about now. What are our expectations for tomorrow if we don't impart revelations into the next generation? There won't be anything left.
Right.
There will not be anything left. So, when we embrace, the cultures where it's okay to swag with your pants hanging down and have all golded out. I thought that phase passed, but I turn on the TV, they're still doing it. They're having their hair looking all crazy. If we're allowing them to be exposed to that type of culture, what's going to be left for those children that they're bringing into this earth realm? And it goes from generation to generation. You see babies having babies because there's been nothing put in them. I was talking to my nephews a couple of years ago, and I was talking to them about the Bible and a simple Bible story. They had no idea who Noah was.
Wow.
Had no idea. I could not believe it. I thought they were kidding. And he was like, I don't know nothing about that. So if we're not imparting in them and explaining to them the process, explaining to them heritage, our ancestries, then there's not going to be anything left. All they're going to want to do is go to rage concerts and smoke and drink and act a fool.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, so speak to heritage for you, Japrecia. What does heritage say to you? Do you feel that you are indebted to heritage and that you owe it? We've often, our whole life, I always have talked to you all about paying it forward and legacy and what that meant and things. And now that you have your little one, I mean, my bundle of joy, your bundle of joy, Jace, what does that mean to you?
That means that I have to strive and put in 110 more percent. Um, One, I must say, I had to relearn my heritage. I had to relearn my history. I had to relearn who I was. Sadly, I learned most of that after um after high school. So once I went off to college, and I went to a great HBCU, FAMU, and I had to relearn and learn some things that I didn't even know about who I was as a young Black female. So now, not just putting out that, but putting out what's in us, our history and all the greatness we come from, the things that was covered up and painted white, painted tan, and made it look like it was other people outside of us. I make sure I share that. I bring back, and then I also show them it takes one person in your family to change your whole family's trajectory. One person.
Mhm.
So by you wanting to be that change, like you kind of said earlier, the struggle is real. When someone is truly tired of struggling, they are going to pull something from within themselves to change that. Um, so you being that one person who wants to change that for your whole family, and then make sure that the others who come up behind you don't have to deal with that same thing, but they also pay it forward and make sure they give the knowledge, give the resources, give everything they have into making everyone aware. That is what is going to change. So those legacies that are being created won't be full of generational curses that can't be broken. It's going to be full of what can we do to bring it to the next level? What can I do different? What can I do to change everything around me? So that knowledge and just giving back. And yes, I'm forever indebted to making sure that young people, my little one, my family, and anyone that I can reach knows that this is a possibility. There is resources, there is change, and it starts with you. You can't just sit back and wait for policies to happen. You can't just sit back and wait for things to be created for you. You have to be a mover and shaker and create some opportunities for yourself if you want things to change truly. So,
So
yeah.
I think if I'm hearing you right, you talk about that change that you want, the power, but when you even when you have a blueprint, you have somewhat of a roadmap of that. You talk about the internal attributes, determination, even pride. Pride is not always a bad thing. When you have pride, or when you have a family of people who are prideful, they are very proud of where they are, where they come from, or they're very proud of what they've accomplished. It's important to build upon that, right? Because
Absolutely.
you spoke to the fact that for those who you said it only take one person in the family to change the whole trajectory of the family, but that person must do so recognizing that is a degree of power to do so inside of it. And so, what would you say to a person now? Because you know what it's like to have life spoken into you, to have expectation. I don't know if you remember the old adage I always said to you all, that expectation is the fuel that drives dreams. Expectation. If you don't have expectation, then guess what? What fuels drive you? You're now a mother. You have an
Mhm.
amazing little boy. I'm so glad to say amazing little grandson. And you can see talent in him, you can see ability, you see creativity in him, and all of that. In what way do you see yourself using your expectation to continue to drive dreams? How will that impact him going forward? I mean, and I want to caveat about that, because here you are, you know, uh, you went to historical Black college there at FAMU, go Rattlers,
Yes.
and then you went on to do your graduate work at Florida State. So
Mhm.
Tallahassee became addictive, and so you're there with the Seminoles,
Yes.
and you're not done even yet. And how much? This is a question. How much does your expectation, meaning the future towards your son, how much is that a drive to you to do better, and how much it is also a drive to you where you were pushed to? I always call that at some given point, we're always in between. We're between the past and the future.
Hmm.
So, in what way does those things impact your expectations?
Okay, so one, again, he is one of my bigger motivations. So right now I'm in that in between. So I went back and forth like, are you going to go ahead and get your doctorate? Are you going to go ahead and get licensed? What are you going to do next? Because although you're awesome now, there's so much more in you. There's a bar to be raised. So that's where I am, knowing that I have this little person looking at me, but that drive in me is going to set his bar so much higher because he's born into a different era. So he's born with technology at his fingertips. He know how to operate a phone,
Yes.
a tablet, a computer.
What
Um,
is that about? I don't understand. These little kids even know how to get your passwords.
oh yeah, yeah. They're born with it. They're born with it right there. I remember getting my first cell phone about 12, 13, and it had minutes, and that didn't last long because
Oh no, it didn't.
once my dad seen I could run up those, that I could run up those minutes, it was like, oh no, let's rethink this. But they're born with it. So I have to now improve myself more and more so that way his minor expectations are what my major expectations were when I was coming
Wow.
up because he's born into so much more. But I think that is something that continues to drive me, just knowing that I have to reach greater so that he can be the greatest. I don't know if I'm answering it fluidly, if I'm answering it in its capacity that I can answer it, but I know that in order for him to be at the best potential, I think he could be, and there's so much in him, like you can see it. You can
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, a lot of these
And
kids, they were here
yeah,
before.
I think
Yeah.
he definitely was here before. But we watched the movie King Richard, and it was something on there that a sign he had. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And I was sitting there looking at it and thinking about how he planned out their lives before they was born. And I like to think I have a little bit of that in me too. I thought of all these things that my son would be like and the things that he can do. And I want to make sure I expose him to all of that. So I give him the creativity to tap into his musical abilities, to tap into sports, even if he want to act, I definitely make sure he tap into his modeling. And then him being smart. I read with him. I make sure he knows a lot of things. And at the age of 2, everyone will tell you, man, he speaks really well. He can have a conversation with you at 2. Um, so I just make sure that I am providing him with the tools to make sure
Yes.
he can do whatever he wants to do. And I know it sounds cliche, like, oh, you can be anything, you can do anything. But literally, I'm making sure that the tools, the knowledge, the exposure is there so that he indeed knows I can actually do anything. I can really
And
do it.
that right there is the best advice you can give him to take him throughout into his adult. Yeah, I mean, that's the advice my father gave me. He said, little girl, you can do or be anything you want to be. It's up to you. And then Les Brown topped it off and said, greatness is a choice. Are you going to choose it?
Yep. And I know he said destiny is a matter of choice, and he has no choice but to be great because everything that has come before him is great. So I have a great father, I have a great mother, I have greatness that was already instilled in me and shown
Yes.
to me. And it almost makes me, it gives me a hunger and a want to be greater. And it's not just materialistic, it's not just finances, although that's important, it's just a lifestyle overall. Being able to be great in a way that you don't have to second guess that people understand who you are. They know your presence. And I can leave any room knowing that everyone got this impression of me. I'm true. Like I have the integrity. I give all of me. And you don't even have to give me a parade for it because I know that feeling that I get when I do it, that suffices for me. And I know now that I have an audience looking at me, not just my son, but the youth I serve in the community that come in contact with me. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know there are people that are saying, well, I didn't have anybody to impart anything about being great inside me. But yes, the mere fact that you're still here, that you're still functioning, that's greatness. And remember that your greatness isn't about you puffing yourself up to be great. You are created to be a servant. You don't have to be a minister of the gospel to be a servant. Just being kind and giving and loving to individuals will empower somebody to be the better version of themselves. So don't even look at the fact, well, I don't have any profile parents and this and that, and nobody's around me telling me I can make it. I'm telling you, you can make it, you can succeed. You're always your greatest asset. And because you're still here, you can build on what you do have, and that is you.
Absolutely.
Wow. Dr. Val, you and Japricia both, you said something that is so important. I think people miss it. What you have just expressed is also the sense of being thankful. We just got through celebrating Thanksgiving, but part of being thankful is just acknowledging. We say thank you when a person have given us something, whether it's a compliment, a service, direction, or something. We say thank you, and that's important to say thank you. But even deeper than that, that thank you is perpetuated inside of what we do, inside of the lives of others. Some people, even when they have it good, they can grow to be unthankful. Why?
Yes, they
Because
want
they're
more.
they're so focused on what they want that they're
Yeah,
not thankful for what they have.
Yeah.
And whenever we're so focused on what we want and we disregard of what we have, that means that we become unthankful. That
mhm,
is the definition of if you would, of a hedonistic society. It's because of the fact we're not thankful. But when we are thankful for what we've gotten, we can appreciate and embrace where we're going. And that's the atmosphere we want to. We don't want to feel the sense of entitlement, but we want to be thankful. I want to be thankful for what we have. I want to be thankful for the road ahead of us. I want to be thankful for some of the bumps and bruises I got along the way. I'm
woo,
thankful for them because
a lot
those
of
are
bumps
things
and
that have
bruises.
humbled me. And listen, and those are the things that oftentimes open our eyes, right? It revealed to us who we are. You often hear me say adversity introduces a man or woman to themselves, but there's a revealing that happens. That's an uncovering. That's a Greek word called apocalypto, which means to uncover, to reveal. And sometimes in life, until we have those encounters, we have not had an apocalypto experience. So it's not been uncovered who we are. So we
Right.
don't complain about what we don't have. We just make it up in our mind. We're thankful for what we have, but we made up our mind we're not going to remain here. Okay. We're going to keep on moving forward. And that's what changes. I'm so glad that we will continue to make sure that you keep going. I'm going to close this part by simply saying, I remember a few years ago, you attended one of the very few birthday things I had. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. And after everyone had did all their, toasting of me, I remembered you stood up and you said something I will never forget. You said, all those great things you said about my dad, everything, they're good. You said, but imagine growing up with him, having him to be your father. But the thing that stood out to me the most that you said today is said that, Dad, you keep raising the bar. You keep raising the ladder. You keep reaching. You keep going high so you make us go high. And I believe that's what we are called to do. And I think that's what I just heard you say, even about your son, about Jason. I got to raise that bar so that he can continue to go higher. And if we all look at that, we can lift our families, we can lift our neighbors, we can lift our generation
Yes,
because
Yeah.
we're willing to do so. And guess what? Holidays will be very, very much welcome when we get
yes,
together because we can look at the fact that look at what we've come through, look how God has blessed us, look at what we've obtained, look at it. And we can do that knowing that, hey, we haven't always been here, but God have always lifted us. So I'm thankful. Once again, I'm proud of you and stuff like that. Ooh, you must have some happy parents. Lord have mercy. Anyway,
thank
Dr.
you
Val,
so
back to
much
you.
for
So big for
joining us, Japricia. It is good
Thank
to
you
see
for having
your face again and see the sunshine. And thank you for empowering individuals today to let them know that regardless of where they find themselves in life, that they can make a shift for the greater. And we are counting on them to cause the shift for the next generation because our children are having children and they will have children.
right.
So we have to build a legacy to keep the family strong and to keep the finances strong so that when the holidays come, you have something to really come together and celebrate and be thankful for. And remember, if you want to have friends, you must first show yourself friendly. Good night
Absolutely.
and God bless and have a
Right.
good evening.
Thank you
me.
so much.